We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling show. I am your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week is another OG Undisputed Scholar himself. He is the one and only Scholar Brian. Scholar Brian, how are we feeling tonight, sir?
Feeling pretty good. Took a week off to decompress after the loss of my title at the Royal Rumble. But you know what? We all know how this goes. We all know that January is not my greatest month.
Oh,
And
yes,
I have
excuses.
no doubt that I will be back in the mix soon enough. In fact, I basically called that out during the Royal Rumble prediction show. I was like, "We all know I'm losing here. It's it's just how January works." But somehow, some way, I always end up back in the discussion at the end of the year. So I take my January lumps, and here we are in February. The real game can now begin.
Oh, it seems like a lot of us are taking our lumps this week. We're running on a little bit of a light crew this week, but you know what? There was so much to enjoy this past week in wrestling that I don't care if it's rain, sleet, or snow. We gotta have someone here to break it all down. Especially with the way our personal group chat has been lighting up, especially with the way AEW Dynamite was this past week. We gotta break it. We gotta break this stuff down. So, with that being said, let's get things off in the week of wrestling because let's be real, WWE wasn't a slouch either with Monday Night Raw. And the big highlight for me personally was where we seem to be going with the Elimination Chamber matches, respectively. Because from this past week alone, we got Rhea Ripley qualifying for the women's, which I can honestly say I think was a pretty safe bet for most of us. But we also got LA Knight advancing to the men's elimination chamber, and he even got another good solid promo of it at the end of the night. My big question and big takeaway from this past week was, is it happening? Is it going to be LA Knight's time? Is this going to be his pathway to it, or are we going in a different
let,
direction, do you
let me
think?
let me stop you right now before you get on the LA Night train. Okay, 100% we know how this elimination chamber is going. Okay, there's not going to be any surprises. There's not going to be any frills. It's just a nice thing that we actually get LA Knight in one of these positions where you think like you'll get some of the crowd that'll be like, hey, maybe he does have a chance. We all know that this is Cody and Jacob Fatu's show. Okay, yeah, they have them both in that in that triple threat match on SmackDown. That is the case, but there's always a second chance triple threat at the end to get that last entrant in. So it's like we know we're getting both of them in the chamber, and one of them is going to win. But it's nice. It is nice that we get out of the three people that were in that match, the one that made sense was LA Knight to get into the chamber. I don't need Theory in a chamber, and Penta was, and I believe it was Penta, right?
Yes, it was Penta.
Yeah, Penta was there to continue that feud. The division versus the luchadors, and that that had been building up. So they basically canceled each other out, and LA Knight was the right choice for a men's elimination chamber for a WrestleMania title shot. Do I think he has any shot in hell of winning this thing? No, no, I do not. Not this is Cody Rhodes or Jacob Fatu's show. It is. It's just nice to have LA Knight in the match. Let's be real. I realize we're at the point where LA Knight must win. No, no. I'm sorry, we've passed that. I do not believe that this year is going to be LA Knight's year. I do not believe he wins a title this year. I think we've passed that. As much as I hate to say it, I think we're past the LA Knight experience having a shot at the main event of WrestleMania. The main event of WrestleMania in a title match, no. He'll be at WrestleMania. He'll be doing stuff. In a title match, no. We're not at the LA Knight WrestleMania title match experience. That's not where we're at. I'm sorry.
I guess I just find myself cut between two different mentalities when it comes to this. On the one hand, I do feel like there's a lot of reasonably good and interesting things you can do at WrestleMania outside of the what we would consider like the norm or the predictable things. I'm glad that we're getting Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. I feel like that's one of the more interesting results we could have gotten out of a Roman Reigns Royal Rumble win, so that's why I'm cool with it. But as far as what's going on with the WWE Championship and Drew McIntyre, I feel like there's got to be more to that. Like, do we really want, on the one hand, yeah, LA Knight, I feel like he's got to get something or else he's just Shinsuke Nakamura all over again. And on, even if you don't have any hope that he's going to go anywhere to the top anytime soon, my other thought is, do we really want Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre again? If not him,
But
who?
but here's the problem. Here's the problem with our mindsets. Okay. We're thinking about what we want to see. We need to remember that the WWE doesn't care about what we want to see. They're at that point where they care about money and what makes money. Okay. And LA Knight in a title match at WrestleMania does not make money. The amount of money that could be made with the storyline that they've been building up for 2 months now. I don't think it's a Cody Rhodes Drew McIntyre one on one at WrestleMania. I think we get Jacob Fatu in there as well. I think it becomes a triple threat match at some point. But LA Knight in this elimination chamber is fodder. He's a body to get
Hmm.
to where we know that this is going to go. I oversold it by saying I don't see him in the main event picture this year, LA Knight. But I 100% do not feel like he's a main event player at WrestleMania this year. He'll be involved with a vision. That's where his storyline will go. I think we're pretty much locked in on the title matches at WrestleMania, whether we want them specifically or not, because the last year in WWE storytelling, they have not gone with what we wanted other than the Drew McIntyre title win. Other than that, they're locked in on what is going to make WrestleMania the most money. And with ticket sales apparently in the shitter right now,
I'm
LA
glad you
Knight
brought
is
that up.
LA Knight is not going to change that. LA Knight, unfortunately, might make it worse
I,
because
hmm.
because we this podcast and others like it are on the LA Knight train. Yeah, you get the fans doing the LA Knight woo, okay, but that's also how we got Jey Uso by just going off of a chant. Okay, yeah, we get the yeah or whatever, and that's fine. But the boat sailed on that for me 2 years ago when the when they put him in the world heavyweight title picture too early against Roman Reigns because of a chant. And and yeah, he's built himself up, and yeah, he's better than he was 2 years ago. But we're in the same thing now. You have a built-in running story with Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, and Jay and
Jacob
what's his
Fatu.
name? And Jacob Fatu that can roll right into WrestleMania. It's they've been building it for a couple months now, and they're not just going to throw it away for a chant.
I will
That's just
say
what that I will give LA Knight his flowers. He has he has improved a lot, and I do see a place for him later this year. Maybe Money in the Bank, maybe King. I no, I've got Obafemi as King of the Ring, but but I can see him Money in the Bank. I could see him in the picture later this year. WrestleMania, no,
that
stop
is fair. That is fair. I
it.
guess when it comes to LA Knight, I'm worried that he's going to slip into Shinsuke Nakamura territory where if you don't strike when the iron's hot, he's just never going to get there, or he's just not going to, you just stop believing in him.
Yeah,
That
the
being
issue with
said,
that is they tried to strike when the iron was hot 2 years ago, and then they killed his fire against Roman Reigns. We said it was going to happen. They didn't listen, and it did. And now we're back at the point where the yeah chants are actually happening, but it's like we can't do that again. We can't put him into a spot where you don't believe he's going to come out the victor. And against
speak,
Drew McIntyre, he could come out the victor, but it would also be you'd have a month of story there that you haven't been building up, whereas you've been building up this other thing, and it's like him losing this elimination chamber is not striking when the iron is hot. It makes sense for him to lose here and get something at a later time. If you if you jump over everything right now and just give him the title shot at WrestleMania, that's when you risk losing it.
you know what? I know you're right. But again, it was just that notion of, okay, if it, if not now, then when? If there is a future when, then we got no problem here. But in terms of like what LA Knight might do at WrestleMania, that could be anyone's guess. But just I got a crazy thought in my mind about what LA Knight could actually do at WrestleMania. Give me honest gut reactions to what I'm about to put out into the universe right now. LA Knight versus Brock Lesnar. What do we think?
I think it's more likely we get Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi.
Really?
But yeah, based off of the just based off of interactions alone, that Royal Rumble match, that interaction between Brock Lesnar and Obafemi, that for me, and the way that the crowd was into it, and the way that the cameras locked into it, and the way that they both like kind of lit up when they were looking at each other, I can actually see Brock Lesnar pushing for, especially if what we think is going to happen later in the year is going to happen. I think they have Gunther do something else at WrestleMania, and I think they do Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar now.
Brian, stop making sense. You're making too much sense tonight. You need to stop it.
Because that can then lead into, oh, the Brock Lesnar is vulnerable. Gunther can do his shtick now with Brock Lesnar. Now that he, because I've got Obafemi winning that. Have Obafemi beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Have Brock Lesnar start like kind of doubting himself a little bit. Have Gunther jump in and do the retirement match. at SummerSlam or whatever shows in Minnesota.
And that is SummerSlam. We are looking at that.
Yeah, so there you go. There you go. You have the built-in story of I've got LA Knight in with the Vision.
Okay.
I've got based off of build and story and the way that it's been going. I've got LA Knight doing something with the Vision on one of the as a as an attraction grudge match kind of deal at WrestleMania. Maybe LA Knight versus Bronson Reed because I've got a feeling they're going to try to do Logan Paul versus Bad Bunny at
That would
WrestleMania.
be money, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Especially. Okay, so we established that LA Knight is not without hope later on in the year. Not at WrestleMania so much, but later on in the year. So all is not lost for LA Knight. However, looking at the rest of what happened on this past week on Monday Night Raw, we got some other people who may be down and out, some more so than others. First off, we got Alpha Academy losing to the Usos. Pretty good back and forth match. Lots of good babyface hope spots, but ultimately you got the Usos going over, as was probably more likely, but also sort of raising Alpha Academy's hands at the end of this. Going back to the original thought, how about Alpha Academy? Are they just are they being primed for some more hopeful title shots in the future, or is this as bad as much as they're gonna go?
I honestly believe that this was a feel good moment. This was a couple weeks of hey, remember who Akira Tozawa actually is, not what we've been portraying him to be over the last however many years. Like we would like to remind you that this guy can go. Okay, and Otis is Otis. So it's I do not think they're being primed for more and future opportunities. I think that this was a one-time gig, get them on the show, remind people that hey, these guys can still go, and I think they go back to I don't think they go back to what they were, but I think they fall into the role of reliable hand, not the comedy sketch duo that they were for the past 5 years. More like if you need a good 10-minute match to build up other teams on their way, I think that that's going to be their role from now on.
True enough. But speaking of just good hands, we also got probably the worst offender of this trend that we're going to be looking at tonight. We've got Natty Neidhart and Maxine Dupree going to a count out. No real conclusions here, but again, I don't know about you, but when I saw those training segments with Maxine and Natty going full Natty, like I was really getting my hopes up. Like, okay, they're going to do something here, especially when we saw the Royal Rumble where we got Natty eliminating Becky Lynch. Like, okay, we're injecting new life into Natty right now. And then we got the result we got on Monday night. This was probably one of the more obvious ones for me, but is this push getting wasted? Is this actually going to have the payoff that we're looking for here? Or is because right now it doesn't seem very promising.
I think they wouldn't have changed the character the way that they did if they didn't have a plan for it. So yes, this is obviously a bump in the road, obviously, but I think the way everybody feels about Nat, I think like this is a last run kind of deal. So I could see a title coming out of this for Natty. I don't think this is a uh-oh, here we go again bit. It is weird looking to begin with, but I think that there's a plan here.
Here's a scholar's quick talk. Does that plan for Natty at least include a spot at the Elimination Chamber?
Yes.
Okay.
I think she'll get in.
Okay, yeah, because that's the one gut feeling I've got is that Natty is going to get into the Elimination Chamber, and there's going to be some shenanigans with Maxine at some point, continuing the feud on after that point, maybe even leading to a WrestleMania match. Who knows? But I'm like, with this shift, and this Maxine alone is just a little too likable, and yeah, I feel like they've got to capitalize and do something with this whole shift.
I think the
Otherwise, it's just
weird
more of the
thing
same.
I think the weird bit is you do what you do when Natty turned on her, and then you have her eliminate Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble. And it's like, okay, what are we doing with the character here? Because that was someone who just turned horrifically heel. and she's basically throwing out the only person with more heat on her right now. So that particular thing made no sense to me. So I'm like everything with Natty that involves Becky Lynch right now doesn't make sense to me. If they had stuck with the Maxine bit of it and just rolled with it, it would have been fine. But it's like why are Monster Heel should not be eliminating each other in the Royal Rumble. That's not
Yeah,
how this works.
yeah. Again, another thing that I've got mixed feelings about. Like when I saw that, I'm like, okay, cool. They're gonna do something with Natty. They're gonna give her a push or something. But at the same time, it's like they just know they want to do something with her, but they don't know exactly what. She still seems kind of like she's got momentum, but like we don't know what direction she's going at the moment. So that's just what I find concerning. Like I just don't want to see this wasted.
Yeah, I think depending on the participants in her triple threat match, inevitable triple threat match to get into the women's elimination chamber, I think there's no doubt that she's going to be in that, especially now that Becky Lynch is not involved because she's going to be facing AJ Lee. I think that leaves room. They need that monster heel from Raw, and now that and now they're Becky Lynch isn't going to be in the match, so you need to have Natty in there.
That I
You
can
need one.
see.
You need one of them, and if you're not going to have one, you need to have the other. Becky Lynch is already confirmed to be in an Intercontinental Championship match against AJ Lee, so Natalia needs to be in there.
And I'd be more than okay with that. But you see, with this episode of Raw, again, some highs, some lows. Not every week is going to be the same. But looking with AEW acts seriously brought the thunder this past week. Starting with a surprise title change towards the beginning of the night, we've got Kyle Fletcher defeating Tommaso Ciampa to become the new TNT champion in what I and a lot of other people thought was a really short title reign for Ciampa. I don't think anyone really saw that. But I've seen a lot of reactions to, okay, what this was way too short. This is selling Champa short. Tony Khan got bored. Or there's other reactions that say like, okay, this is, sort of gives it that any given Sunday feel. Anyone who's good enough can win on any given Wednesday or Saturday or whatever it is. That's where I come from. Uh, I know we were blowing up the group chat at the time. What were your immediate takeaways of Kyle Fletcher defeating Tommaso Ciampa?
Well, first of all, it's my favorite match of the year so far. We'll put it there. We'll just put that out there right away. It's gonna change like immediately, but so far through the first 40 days of the year, this is match of the year so far. Um, my one thing is, if this was always going to end up being Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe in their little best of seven or whatever for the TNT title in Australia, I love Tommaso Ciampa, but why have him win the title in the first place if where we were going the entire time was Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe in the ladder match at Grand Slam Australia?
Hmm.
It's like I'm happy he got the title. I'm happy he got the title for the short time he did, and we got some great matches out of the reign. Like three tremendous matches in a week's time. That's good shit. I enjoyed all of it, but it does lay the question where if it was always going to be Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher at Grand Slam Australia, I would have thought the smart thing to do would be have Mark Briscoe retain and then go in and have Kyle Fletcher as the challenger in his hometown and have him win the title in his hometown.
Hmm.
And that so I'm not one of the Tony Khan got bored. I'm just like if this was the plan the whole time, then why did we deviate?
To that question, I can say my immediate gut reaction is to give Tommaso Ciampa some immediate out of the gate momentum. Like, okay, this is who Tommaso Ciampa is. This is the threat level he was really able to bring the entire time. Look out, world.
I would have
So,
had it go to a draw in that case. Then maybe have the instead of
oh,
the ladder match, have a triple threat match at
oh,
a
I thought you were talking about why Tommaso Ciampa just like won the title immediately.
well that's what I meant. That's what I meant. But if you're like if you're coming out to prove a point and all that, another way you could have done it without deviating from the plan, which is Kyle Fletcher. Well, now it's Kyle Fletcher champion versus Mark Briscoe challenger, but at that point it would have been Mark Briscoe champion, Kyle Fletcher challenger. I would have had uh, that first match go to a draw, go to a time limit draw, and then go triple threat style at Grand Slam Australia, and then have Kyle Fletcher win and become champion. So it's like, yeah, it's all good. You have him come in and Psycho Killer wins the title immediately, but then he loses it within a week. So what did you actually do here?
Speaking, now that you
That's
introduced
what
the
I'm saying.
idea, now that you introduced the idea of these triple threat matches being a possibility, any chance this could be leading up to Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe versus Tommaso Ciampa at Revolution?
I mean, it could possibly, but we're also getting to the point now where I'm like, I would like these two to move on.
True enough. True enough.
There's
I
a
just
few
want to
of
see
those.
Tommaso Ciampa kill people. That's all.
It's like there's a few of those going going into Grand Slam Australia. We'll get to another one later, but there's a few where it's like, okay, I think we've had enough. But we're my whole it's like it's good that they liked Tommaso Ciampa enough where they were just like, okay, give him a title immediately, let him have these awesome matches immediately. Let's get them done. Let's roll them out. I just don't potentially agree with having him win the title and then having him lose it a week later. I don't think that was the best way you could have shown Tommaso Ciampa is a psycho killer. Okay, he lost his title in a week. Yeah, it was in a 30-minute barn burner against Kyle Fletcher, a guy who wouldn't stay down because he wants to be champion going into Australia. But it's also like, is he really a killer? No.
I think there's still going to be a little bit more time to show off that more side of him. But speaking of having more time and just like uh, it brings me back to this another triple threat. The triple threat tag match we've got between the Young Bucks, a returning Private Party, and a debuting Rascals. Like for this one, obviously we got the Young Bucks going over again, getting Young Bucks FTR for the 15 millionth time. But with this setup, like with the Rascals debuting and Private Party coming back, I felt pretty strongly that one of them should have taken this. I don't know about you, but I just do not care about the Young Bucks and FTR yet again. It's like, to me,
Yeah.
it's like this is AEW's answer to Cena Orton. Like we've seen it enough times already. You can't do anything more with it. Or can you?
Yeah, I'm like, look, man, it's Young Bucks versus F. I the reaction in the group chat said it all. It's just like, yeah, the triple threat match was great. It was awesome. And we know that FTR versus the Young Bucks is going to be a great match. It always is. But the fact of the matter is, I'm bored. I'm like, we have seen it over and over and over again. And just because the Young Bucks are face now and FTR are heels, I don't think the dynamic is going to change that much.
Yeah. And I was getting excited to see Private Party again. I was really looking forward to seeing the Rascals do their rascally stuff. So I'm like,
I
I
will
was in
say,
the mood for something
yeah,
fresh.
it's like I will say this: I'm happy the Private Party is back in the rotation. Give a round of applause. Private Party is back, and they're in the rotation of the tag teams, so they will get their shot again soon enough. And I get why you wouldn't have them win first match back. You haven't seen them in a year. You want to throw them on a plane to Australia immediately after the comeback. I get why that would be a no, but the Rascals just came. I would have given it to the Rascals because they just came off that epic street fight, that backlot brawl against Big Bill, uh,
Brian Keith.
Brian Keith, and the grizzled young veterans, and they came off that win, and you could have catapulted them from there. But no, you went back to the safe and easy, and that is that is what leads me into my thought of how Grand Slam Australia is going to go.
Since you brought it up, what are your thoughts on Grand Slam Australia that we're going to be getting this weekend?
Because here's the deal: you had two you had two title changes on Dynamite. Thekla beating Chris Statlander in the end, which was great.
I was gonna
Enjoyed that.
say that was about
Not
as
not saying
contrary to what I've
anything.
been talking about as
It's like
anything else.
it, it the way that I started talking about that statement, I know that sounds like I was coming down on it, but no, that was great. I loved every bit of that. That was a strap matches really work for me. But AEW has proven that they know how to run a strap match the right way. And so it's like I had every faith that this was going to be great, and it was. And but here's the deal: you have two title changes on Dynamite, and you have basically a pay-per-view card that is not a pay-per-view going into, and the one match where I believe there could be a chance of a title change. I don't really believe there's a lot of shot of a title change with the way they've been telling the story of that match. The story of Moxley versus Takeshita has nothing to do with the infighting of the Don Callis family, and it's more about Moxley trying to get his win back from the tournament. So it's like that was the one match where I could see a title change, but the way that they're playing the story makes me think that's not going to happen. And with and you also so it's like we are in the area where there's a possibility that nothing noteworthy happens at Grand Slam Australia. Nothing surprising because we all know Wheeler Yuta is getting his hair chopped off. We all know that.
I don't know. Part of me is still strangely curious if they could reasonably shave Marina Shafir's head. Like she seems crazy enough to
I'm,
actually do it.
I'm sure that they could do it, but with the fact that Wheeler Yuta is the one who made the cut of Mina's hair on Dynamite,
Oh yeah, you're
that
right.
dude,
He's a dead
that
man.
dude, that dude's getting his hair. That dude's getting, and the fact that he's all wild man, caveman, and all that. That dude's getting his head shaved. That's just common knowledge at this point. Brody King, based off of the way they did that. Okay, MJF's gonna beat him with shady means. Uh, I don't. Fletcher's gonna retain. It's like there's a chance that nothing noteworthy happens at the show. We're just going to get a bunch of great wrestling, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like they already, putting it crudely, I think they already blew their load with title changes this week.
Well, there is one match I noticed that you didn't bring up. It's the match between Hangman Page and Andrade El Idolo, and apparently the
And I think
winner
that one's
gets
pretty.
is the number one contender for the AEW Championship at Revolution. Like
And
that.
really, the winner of that is going to decide the world heavyweight title match in the main event of the show. But yeah, I think that this is where Andrade's win streak runs out. I think I think we get Hangman MJF going into Revolution.
That would again that's another sort of predictable match in my mind. Like, do we really want another Hangman MJF match? Like,
But that's the thing. It's like it feels with all the surprises that they had on Dynamite, it feels like Australia is going to be kind of a paint by numbers Saturday night main event kind of deal instead of a noteworthy show. They're going to leave the noteworthy stuff for, and also, I don't think that they're going to uh, give the Continental title to Takeshita because I don't think that they would have. I don't think they're going to separate the titles and then immediately go for the unification again. I don't think that they're I if they wanted to do that immediately, they would have just given Takeshita the Continental title, and then they would have just run into it. I don't think that I don't think they would have split them up and just to give Moxley like a month run as the Continental Champion, and then go back to the Takeshita Okada potentially whatever you call those titles, unifying them. I think that they're gonna have Takeshita lose. I think that they're finally going to address the potential infighting, and I think we're going to get Takeshita versus Okada for the international title, in which Takeshita will finally win. But I don't think they do the uni. I don't think they ununify. I don't think they ununify just to unify again. I don't think that's smart business, and I don't think that's the right move, especially with the way you've been telling the story. There has been no infighting for the last 3 weeks. If there was like signs of it, then I would be more on the Takeshita wins the Continental title at Grand Slam train. But the way they've been telling the story, it has nothing to do with that. So it's like it feels and it feels like nothing noteworthy is going to happen on this show. I hate to say it.
That being said, I feel like there's still, even if we don't get like noteworthy in the sense of like any major title changes or
Oh
anything
yeah,
like that,
there's still going to be great wrestling. It's still a show worth tuning in for. But it's like
that being
it's going to be
said,
it's going to be exactly what a lot of these shows are turning into. Great wrestling. At the end of the night, you're not mad that you watched it, but I don't think anything's going to happen.
that being said, which of the matches that have been announced for Grand Slam Australia, which one do you think is going to be the better match of the night? Because I know for me, even though Brody King isn't going to beat MJF for the championship this time, I feel like this is the opportunity to really elevate Brody King to the next level. MJF, he can win any number of ways, but Brody King, just I feel like this is going to be a potential for a star-making turn here. Like there's going to be something that'll take him up from just being a good, cool-looking mid-card guy to just like potential main event threat. So I'm going to
Oh
go with
yeah,
that one. Any other
he's going to
standouts?
come out. He's going to come out of tonight as the main event threat. But if you're going match of the night, it's obviously between two of them, and it's the two we've mentioned. It's the Hangman versus Andrade, and it's the Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe in a ladder match. Because you put those two in with weapons, and it's a glorious masterpiece every time. So my match of the night is going to be between those two. I don't think that there's any match that's going to be disappointing. I think the one that's going to be paint by numbers and is going to be pretty. It's going to be Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy versus Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir, only because we all know how it's going to end. And I honestly think with the match that's built for the night after, which is Orange Cassidy and Tony Storm versus Moxley and Marina Shafir on the Sunday after, I think we start build for a potential Orange Cassidy Continental title run.
Hmm, interesting.
Moxley versus Orange Cassidy. Have Orange Cassidy get his finally get overcome Moxley.
That could be interesting. I feel like, yeah, they've got both he and Tony Storm have a good, solid place in the card right now, but they definitely are going to need some place to go after this feud. And I think that's about as good as I can expect for Orange Cassidy. But with all that being said, those are our thoughts of this week in professional wrestling and our predictions for what we're going to be seeing this Saturday at Grand Slam Australia. But now is the point of our show where we turn it over to you, our fellow fans. What's where's everyone going in leading up to WrestleMania? And especially now that we've got Revolution on the horizon and the date just announced for All In 2026. A lot of roads are being set up. So where do you think everyone's going? No matter what you think, leave us a line all across the internet, YouTube comments, Facebook posts, and wherever we are, you should be too. Join in the conversation and at all of our relevant social media links in the description box below, where you can find our link tree. In the description, that's linktree/Scholars of Wrestling for all our social media links, so you can join in the conversation with us. Because right now, I'd say we're just about done talking. We need to rest and regroup. We need to get the band back together for next week because there's going to be even more wrestling coming and more announcements of more matches. It never stops. But you know we're going to be there because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
See you all for bring the team back next week.